Warframe's newest major update, the Deadlock Protocol, is out now and Digital Extreme's marketing team is on the gears, blasting people with ads on the new update. And after my last video where I talked about games that you can run on an older computer, I finally got my new graphics card and hopped onto Warframe once again. And so as a returning player, we will talk about if Warframe is worth playing in 2020. Warframe is available to play on the PC, PS4, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch, but updates come first on the PC before getting distributed to the consoles. I will be using the timestamps feature of YouTube so you can easily navigate on the points that you want to skip to. The short answer for the question is yes. Warframe is a nice game to play, especially since it is free to play and there are contents that will keep you glued to your seat for hundreds of hours, even more if you really got into the game. The game looks nice and isn't really hardware demanding. As what I have mentioned in my previous video, my old GT420 can run it with playable frame rates. I just needed to set it all its settings to low and lower the screen resolution. If that's enough to convince you to play, then feel free to click away from the video and start downloading Warframe. If not, then join me as we discuss the long answer, which depends on what type of player you are. Let's talk first about people who stop playing after a while. If you are a returning player like me, it might take a while to readjust with the game or start to like it again after months or years of not playing, especially if you have already collected all the prime equipment and frames. You may do the new quests that have been added and maybe collect the other frames that was released after you stop playing, but the issue still remains. There's not enough good end game content to justify playing the game after you've collected everything. The new Nightwave feature could make you stay for a little longer since it offers unique quests outside of the mission nodes. More on that later. If you are a new player, regardless of whether you've heard of the game before or not, then my answer is still yes. Warframe gives a lot of bang for your buck since it is free to play, and since the only things that are exclusive to real-life money are cosmetics, it doesn't require you to actually spend money to experience more content or acquire powerful weapons. It doesn't have any upgrade DLCs like Destiny 2 has with Forsaken and Shadowkeep, so you can access every content currently available in the game without spending a single dime. Premium currency is earned through selling rare items you get from just playing the game, and if you really want to buy premium currency with real-life money, the game gives you discounts for them as part of the random daily login reward, up to 75% off. Let's check out the gameplay for more details. Warframe's gameplay has changed a lot since its release back in 2013. Right now, it has become a run-and-gun horde shooter where you go into a dungeon instance and do a specific mission that the place requires while killing a huge waves of enemies trying to stop you. The game offers a variety of guns and melee weapons to choose from, each having their own stats that affect what kind of damage they deal, how far you can be from an enemy before the weapon's damage drops off, how headshots affect damage, and many other things. You can also customize your weapons and change how they look and put ornaments on them as well. As the title suggests, you control a Warframe, an advanced technology developed by the precursors on Earth before they abandoned it. Warframes in lore are considered relics of the past since all of them disappeared after winning the old war that the precursors waged against the sentients, AIs that went rogue. And fast forward to the events of the game, the solar system is in grave threat as the faction of genetically modified clones of the precursor is trying to take control of it. When it comes to gunplay, you have the standard hipfire of a third-person shooter and an iron sight button that allows you to zoom in, making your bullets more accurate. The only time that the game switches to first-person is with snipers. However, all the other guns in the game only zooms in towards the Warframe shoulder when aiming down sights. Pressing the F key on the keyboard when playing on the PC will allow you to switch between your primary and secondary weapon. Pressing the melee attack button will immediately switch your weapon from your guns to your melee weapon, and you will continue to use it until you either press the fire button for your guns or aim down sights. And aside from weapons, players can also assign companions, which aids players in damaging enemies or picking up loot dropped by enemies or containers throughout missions. They can be in the form of a sentinel, which are inanimate objects or pets like a cat-looking cavat or a dog-looking cabro. Each Warframe also have their own unique abilities. Each of them have 4 abilities in total, and each ability consumes different amounts of energy. Every Warframe also differs when it comes to health pools, energy pools, as well as their defense and running speed, which makes each Warframe unique from each other. Warframe also has this unique and interesting movement mechanic called bullet jump, where your Warframe twirls in the air moving forward, covering a large distance in a small amount of time. This is done by moving forward and then pressing and holding the crouch button and pressing the jump button at the same time. This can be done indefinitely as long as the Warframe touches the ground between each bullet jump. But in my opinion, what makes Warframe unique from other looter shooters or online third-person shooters in general is the addition of mods. Mods are basically upgrades that you can install on your weapons and Warframe to make them stronger. While there are attachments that you can put on guns in most shooter games, Warframe allows you to put mods in your Warframe and your companions aside from your guns and melee weapons. As of this writing, there are currently 1,014 mods available in the game. All can be acquired through regular playthrough and can also be traded between players. Warframe is a PvE-centric game, so much so that the PvP mode is basically dead. So if you're looking for a game that solely focuses on PvE, this game will be for you. Otherwise, you might find the game quite a bit lacking. From time to time, an event called Fissure happens where the game chooses a random mission node from all the planets and turns them into void fissures. Mission nodes turned into void fissures still play the same way, however there are added catches. An additional enemy called the Corrupted appears together with the regular enemies that you can find on the node. Corrupted are, to make it very simple, stronger versions of the regular enemies as they have been corrupted by the void, which you might have seen while choosing a planet to go to on the solar system. Void Wraiths will appear every once in a while during a void fissure, summoning corrupted and turning regular enemies that are near the rift to corrupted as well. Void fissures are important because these can crack open relics, which you may have noticed as a reward after a mission. These relics contain prime parts of weapons, companions, and warframes. Prime parts are basically the legendary item of Warframe, and it is essential to farm relics and prime parts because of trading. Trading happens between player to player and is an essential part of the game. It is the prominent way of getting premium currency, or called platinum, without spending real-life money. Warframe has a thriving community that exists because of trading, and it is what makes it really free-to-play friendly. In Warframe, players do not enhance equipment, but rather they level them up, or much more appropriately termed ranking up. Each acquired weapon, companion, or Warframe starts at rank 1, and players need to rank them up to the maximum rank 30. The player's account also ranks up, also called Mastery Rank or MR for short, and they start at rank 1 as well. Both the equipment and Warframe's rank, together with the player's MR, affect how much mod capacity an equipment or a Warframe will have. Each mod available in the game have their own cost, and an equipment or a Warframe needs to have an adequate amount of mod capacity for a mod to be installed. It is a very intricate system that will warrant itself a whole new video, so we're going to stop at that for the meantime and move on to the next other point. Aside from mission nodes, Warframe also offers story quests that players can do for more exposition and new Warframes and weapons. Story quests have their own requirements to be met before they can be started, but most end game, for the lack of a better term, content in the game are locked behind story quests, so it is advisable for players to do them as soon as they are able to. Once the player has cleared a certain story quest, they will be introduced into Sorties. Sorties are a set of 3 special missions that reset daily, and each mission gets progressively difficult. The rewards for completing the set of a sortie are RNG based, meaning players will receive a random reward from a pool of rewards, each have their own percentage of being given to the player. Players can only do sorties once per day, so once they clear it and receive the rewards, they need to wait for another day to attempt the sortie again and hope for another reward. Sorties special missions change from day to day as well and is randomized. And I forgot to mention, Warframe offers the ability to pause the game. Yes, you've heard that right. You can pause this online game, as long as you've set your matchmaking to solo. This is probably one of the reasons why I love this game. It doesn't force you to play with other people, and you can turn it into a pseudo single-player game. The game has 4 kinds of matchmaking. Public, which as the name suggests, matches you with other people that queued up for the mission node. Friends only, which only lets your friends in-game join your missions. Invite only, where only people you invited can join you. And solo, which lets you play mission nodes all by yourself and lets you pause the game if you want to. Warframe also recently added open world nodes for people to explore, but that is for endgame content that I won't be covering in this video. I might release a separate video for the game's other contents, but I digress. Let's move on to another section, the game's story. The reason why I talked about the gameplay before the story with this review is because the story is so convoluted it might as well be non-existent for the meantime. It feels like the story threads aren't even connected to each other aside from the later ones. The premise of the game is as follows. The Lotus, a mysterious figure that gives out commands to the player, awakens the Tenno, or the player character, due to the ever-growing threat of the Grineer within the solar system. Vor, a captain of the Grineer, is searching for Warframes so that he can control and use them for the glory of the Grineer, and stumbles upon the Tenno on Earth. But since the Lotus has already awakened the Tenno managed to escape, but Vor has already attached an Ascaris, a device Vor uses to control Warframes before they could successfully escape. Following up from this, the Tenno rescued a black market arms dealer named Darvo with the guidance of the Lotus and the ship's AI, or Cephalon, named Ordis. And the Ascaris has finally got removed from the Tenno's Warframe, and afterwards the Tenno tracks down Vor, finally killing him in Mercury. After these events, which serves as a tutorial as well, the player is free to do whatever they want, including doing story quests that are available to them. Progression is pretty linear with the game, as players need to complete a linear set of mission nodes on one planet until they reach a boss node. Killing the boss of the planet is required to unlock the junction of that planet so that the player can travel to a different one, thus continuing their journey through the solar system. I cannot tell anything more about the story without diving into spoilers, so I suggest, if you do decide to pick the game up, to enjoy the story and lore hunt yourself. And as much as I love this game, of course it has its negatives. First is the lack of endgame content, as what I've mentioned at the beginning of the video. Sure, the game can get you glued to your seat for hours every day, but there's nothing in the game to ensure player retention. And that makes Digital Extremes put out new updates and contents every 3 months or so, or else the game will die because of no replayability once the player acquires and does everything the game has to offer. That will come for a long time, but it inevitably will. People who played more than 1,000 hours will tell you the same thing about this. The second negative thing that I can think of is purely subjective, the addition of Nightwave. I haven't explained it earlier, but Nightwave is similar to Season Pass and other games where it offers quests and rewards and resets after a certain period of time. I personally don't like the idea. To be fair, it is free compared to season passes of other games where you need to buy them with real-life money, but I'm against the idea of limited time quests with absurd completion requirement. It rewards players with rare materials that can usually be farmed, and decorations and cosmetics exclusive only to Nightwave. While the rewards aren't really game-changing or anything, I hate that it feels like the game is forcing players to play the game and abide to the absurd challenges so that you can complete the missions. But like I said, it is subjective, so to each his own. So in summary, yes, Warframe is worth playing in 2020. Whether you are a new player that got hooked by the spam of ads on YouTube, or you're a returning player that just wants to check out on how the game is doing, Warframe is a blast of a game to play, and I totally recommend it.